Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. So my guy sounds like he's probably easily in his mid-50s at this point, and he shares his story going back decades ago when he was in college and his first serious girlfriend. And you're going to see that he was your total nice guy and got completely screwed over by his girl. At that point, that caused him to go through a serious bad boy Chad phase, and definitely was the exact opposite. And then he meets this girl that would change all that and gets married and rushes into it. And as you are all well aware, when a guy rushes into things with a girl, it gives her certainty. And then if he is not strong enough to stand up to her, it can be pretty bad. And you're going to see in this story, guys, about his marriage to all these years with her and the mistakes he makes. And the thing is, this guy was a police officer, so he was obviously a tough guy. And all the things that went wrong and the stereotypes, a lot of learning here. And eventually, after decades, enough was enough, and you're going to see how this guy handles the situation in the short term and things I disagree with. But now he's at a point, after many years with a gal we'll call Becky, now he's having his exit strategy plan when his daughter's in college and all that. And I don't want to reveal too much because it's a long story, as you can see. I'll let you find out in real time in this movie of a video here. But you're going to see a lot of things I talk about, guys, in this story here, and it's really important to listen to this whole story and to see if you can figure out where he's going wrong and predictably see how his wife reacts and all that. And hopefully, leaving this story, you relationship guys will have learned something, certainly how not to be, but also understand that even through the depths of hell that you're in, a guy can pull himself out and he can start over and be okay. It's going to be hard in the beginning, but nothing is forever. And if you're in a bad relationship with someone, end it. Find a way. It could be tough on the kids or kid, stuff like that, but you can find a way. It's not worth spending your life with someone that treats you like dog crap. Okay, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but you have to get to the end of the tunnel. You can't just sit there and wait for the end of the tunnel to come to you. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. He says, let me begin by saying thank you for the content you provide to all us guys out there. In my current job, I often come across men who are total nice guys getting screwed over by their women. Let's just say I work for a law enforcement entity, and men do come in to report abuse from their women. Well, sadly, that's happening more and more, at least as people being made aware that's happening more and more. I've turned them to your videos to assist them in getting their lives back on track. I certainly wish that this was available back in the late 80s and early 90s otherwise. Otherwise, I'd know I wouldn't have made the multitude of mistakes I made in my life. Well, shit, I wish I had someone to listen to like me back then, too. I'll start by saying that I was a blue pill card-carrying member at the Nice Guy fraternity. Bro, from your story, you were the president. I always tried to be a gentleman to the women I dated and would show them the respect that I thought they deserved. I can tell you that I earned nothing but emotional turmoil because of it. My first real girlfriend was Jane. We met at work at a department store in a college town. We hit off great. Since I was only 21 years old and she was 22, we began dating. Smack! Don't date your coworkers. Yes, it's not as big a deal when you're in high school and college and it's your part-time job working at the restaurant or McDonald's or something, but even then, it's not a good idea. You certainly don't do it when it's actually your career. Looking back, I had a selection of young gals I could have gone out with at the time. I was the only guy that worked the 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. shift, and there were at least 10 other girls I could have asked out. I was young and dumb, and before you knew it, Jay and I were dating and sleeping together. I was happy. What young guy wouldn't be? Because pretty much when you're 21, you have pretty much just the P word, drinking, and food on your mind. He says, we were like rabbits in the bedroom. And with 21-year-old testosterone running through my veins, who wouldn't be? The first red flag was probably when I discovered that Jane had a boyfriend that she hadn't broken up with. And conveniently did not tell me when we started hooking up. Dude, that tells you everything you need to know about her. She's a liar, she's a cheater, and guess what? It'll only be a matter of time that she'll do the same thing to you. Guaranteed, and watch what happens. They were a long-distance relationship, 120 miles separating them. I discovered this one night after we had been in bed. There was a knocking at the door, and lo and behold, Tim, her boyfriend, was there. Jane told me to stay quiet and that she would get rid of him. I got to listen to her as she ended her relationship with Tim. I heard Tim begging to reconsider, but she ended it right there. Smack to Tim. I'm sure Tim was heartbroken, but still. After she was done, we once again went after each other several times. I guess breaking up with guys was a turn on for her. Yeah, probably. She enjoyed having the power, you know? And I guarantee it, the guys that she really was hot for were the guys that would treat her like dog crap. Yeah. Bro, you should have gotten the hell out of there, but you're probably thinking, I'm different, or she'll be different with me, or some nonsense like that. Well, let's see if she's different with this guy. Jay and I were exclusive for 2 years, and we attended different colleges. Hold on. You telling me the girl that cheated on her long-distance boyfriend, you then got into a long-distance relationship with, and you think she wasn't going to do the same thing to you? Okay. We were separated by about 100 miles, but I would visit every weekend, or she would visit me. Since Jane was a year older than me, she graduated before me. After graduation, she moved to the West Coast while I remained in my school for 1 more year. That time period was difficult, but we would call and write each other very often. I thought everything was fine until one evening I was speaking with her and I could detect a sense of distress in her voice. She confided that she went to a party and she slept with a guy from the party. She was, you guessed it, so sorry. It would never happen again. Naturally, being the nice guy was, I forgave her. Smack, smack, smack. What I tell you about earlier, like if she does it to somebody else, she will do it to you. And you're doing the long distance thing like poor old Tim. At least Tim got away. Tim dodged a big one earlier in life. I'm sorry it happened to you, man, but Jesus Christ. You know, this is what they do. She's an a-hole. You can't turn an HOE into a housewife or girlfriend. And then you forgave her and you gave her a second chance. Come on, man. I visited her in California. Everything was great. Smack. After that situation, you should have been going to her. At the very least, she should have been coming to you. She so much should have roller skated, pogo stick to see you after what she did, let alone you paying money to get on a plane. I'm guessing she didn't pay for your ticket. And she was preparing to graduate. Jane visited and was with me for the Easter break. We once again had a lot of fun, and I was totally clueless as to the dark clouds that were gathering overhead. When I graduated on May 18th, I got a phone call from Jane. It was about 4 hours before the graduation ceremony, and I thought Jane was giving me a congratulatory phone call. It started off that way, but then she started to break down. She then informed me that she was pregnant. I thought the baby was mine, and of course I stated I would do the right thing and would raise our baby together. Then she told me it wasn't my baby. Nobody else is surprised. I was devastated to say the least. I held it together the best I could for an occasion that was supposed to be a joyous one with my family and friends. Remember you said that you thought that she enjoyed breaking up with guys, hurting guys? Do you think it's an accident she called you 4 hours before your graduation that was supposed to be a joyous, triumphant event? No, she told you on purpose to hurt you. On purpose. She enjoys messing with guys. And these are the same type of gals that cry when the bad boys treat them like they are. She did it on purpose. She's a fucking bitch. But at least she said the baby isn't yours. All I could say was, thanks, Jane. And I proceeded to get drunk that night. Not because I was happy, but because my heart was destroyed. At that time, after graduation, I turned into a Chad. I'd never been this way, but at that point I was very angry. I went wild that summer, and if it was semi-attractive female, I would fuck it. At one point, I was juggling 4 women, all from work, and I was doing the same angry effing. I didn't care about these women. All I was going to do was use them and felt like I was used by Jane. And right there, gentlemen, is how bad boys are created. When women cry and complain, blah, 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 guess what? A lot of times, men are shown what happens when they're good guys. It is what it is. On 2 occasions, I ended up being with 4 of them all throughout the day. You nailed 4 of these chicks all in the same day? That's some 22-year-old stamina, my man. Not all together, but on separate occasions. When you mentioned bad boys, I was one of them at the time. You are right. It seemed as if women would come to me like a moth to a flame. Guys, all my life, particularly when I was younger, I'm in the balanced state right now. But when I would go from extreme nice guy to extreme asshole after getting my heart broken, because it happened to me a few times when I was younger in the high school, college era. When I was a total dick, I got more ass than I can count. When I was a nice guy, girls didn't really have anything to do with me. Or at least I had a girlfriend at the time, and you can get the point. It was amazing. Because that guy that doesn't give a shit's the challenge. You know? They want to see if they can get him. And plus they know that, hey, he's not going to chase me down and try to lock me into a relationship or whatever. It's amazing how it works. So, flash forward a few years after Jane. I did go out on a few dates, but nothing really serious. I was very busy focusing on my career and working out. Well, good for you, sir. That's what you should have been doing. The career I chose was one that was loaded with alpha males, and some of the women and some of the wisdom and attitude did wear off on me. I was aloof around women and seemed that they were very interested in me. One day I was watching a prisoner at a hospital. The attending nurse started asking me some questions in regards to my relationship status. I told her I was available, and she asked if I'd be interested in going on a blind date with one of her friends. And your answer should have been no. Blind dates, you got plenty of ass chasing after you. And besides, she's a nurse. I said I was, and she asked if I would like to go out with a blonde or a redhead. I picked a redhead. The blind date consisted of eating dinner at her house with 2 additional couples. This girl was Becky, was attractive and very intelligent. Let me guess. Her nurse friend she's a nurse too. I think that's what attracted me from the beginning. Becky was not only intelligent but very independent, had a strong work ethic, and I could respect. We hit off very well, and at the time I was 27, Becky was 29. I didn't know at the time, but things seemed to be moving very fast. Looking back, I know why. 30 was around the corner. Ding, ding, ding. I tell you guys all the time, and if you're new to the channel, women hate the number 30, especially if they don't have a ring on their finger. And if so, they are going to rush things along to speed along the proposal and the wedding all, because they know when they turn 30, they know that's when their market value physically really starts to decline. Just like when you buy a brand new car and you drive it off the Ford lot, and all of a sudden your freaking Ford drops in value just like that. They get into their 30s, same freaking thing. I'm not saying you can't have damn good looking gals in their 30s, even their 40s, they take care of themselves, but it's not the same as their prime in their 20s. And they're trying to rush guys along. Don't fall for it. Becky and her roommates were losing their lease on the house they were living in. I too was about to be done with the lease of my apartment, and I was going to be looking for alternative living arrangements. Don't you do it. Don't you go rushing into moving in with this chick. At the time, Becky and I were seeing each other for 9 months. Becky then approached me about living together. I, of course, like an idiot, said yes, let's do it. Smack! 9 months? 9 fucking months? Come on, dude. You barely know her. She can put on the best show in the world. And remember, she's 29. Watching that clock. Watching her watch. Wanting to get married. There's no reason to do it, guys. I know you know this if you watch me all the time. Even if you need a fucking roommate, get another dude. Find another alternative. Don't marry with some girl. Move in with some girl. But that did not go well with my extremely conservative parents. Well, they were right. They did not speak to me for several months, and my siblings basically did the same. My relationship since that happened had not been the same. They really did not like Becky, but they never liked anyone that I had ever met. Maybe out of spite and to prove them wrong, I did not pay attention to what they thought. We did get a small duplex to live in, and during that time we were really like 2 ships passing in the night. I was working a ton, and Becky was too. Becky was also getting her bachelor's degree in nursing. Oh, God. I knew it. I knew she was a nurse. I told you. You all know about the nurses, and, well, watch this. We both did share in the bill paying and other expenses pretty equally. I thought everything was going well, but looking back now, they weren't. For starters, our S6 life wasn't anything like it was with Jane. Sure, we would be together 2 to 3 times a week, but it seemed that often she was just doing duty sex. This would play a role in things to come. Oh, they certainly will, my man. After going out for 14 months, I proposed, and Becky said yes. Smack! 14 months? 9 months you're moving with this broad, now 14 months you're proposing. She's right around 30. You played right into her hand. What happened to the Chad? What happened to the dude that was banging 4 chicks in one day, which I'm pretty impressed about, by the way. I wish that guy was here right about now when good old Becky came in the picture. God almighty. But don't worry, this is true love, guys. 14 months, it's all going to have a happy ending. I'm sure you're picking up on my sarcasm at this moment. During the month of December of 93, we got married. Closed on a new house, moved, and Becky graduated. It was a whirlwind to say the least, but at the time, we were happy. No, she was happy. She's like, I got this motherfucker. However, there was something my mother-in-law said as I was about to walk down the aisle to my bride. I thought the bride walks down the aisle to you. It was, are you sure you want to do this? Her mom, your mother-in-law, told you that? Are you sure you want to do this? Marry my redheaded, hot little daughter here who's a nurse? That'd tell you something. Mom-in-law, couldn't you told me that like yesterday before we were here at the fucking church? Things began to change with Becky after we were married for 6 months. Who could have thought? Bait and switch. First was Becky getting pissed off at her supervisor at work, and she put in her 2 weeks' notice. We were depending on both our incomes to purchase and pay for the new house that we were in, but with Becky quitting her job, the financials were now on my shoulders. And I would say, this is when you check your wife and say, oh, no. You're going to spend day and night getting another freaking job because I'm not going to put it all on me. Bullshit. But there you go, guys. I would often work 70, 80 hours a week, and I might have had one day off. Becky, on the other hand, was trying to find a job, but she did not seem to sense the financial urgency that I did because she knows you're not going anywhere. Remember, you're the guy that rushed into a relationship with her. You're the guy that moved in with her 9 months. You're the guy that married her in 14 months. She's thinking, I got this guy, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. Her actions, because it's all about actions, gentlemen, are demonstrating this. Finally, she did find a job, and it paid well. However, often I would hear her complain about the hours and how she really didn't like her profession. Of course she's bitching about it. I had no choice, but being the guy that I am, I felt compelled to keep the outrageous hours going because I wanted to get the bills paid off. But I had a feeling that Becky could just quit her job at the drop of a hat. I did have quite a number of conversations over the subject, but she seemed to ignore my concerns. Dude, this is when I'm in the time to get out. Okay? Let's review. You rushed into things. The SEX had really dwindled. Her mom warned you, literally, you sure you want to do this? Marry my fucked up daughter? Quits her job and it puts all on you. No urgency. All these things. This would have been the time to bail, man. I'm sure looking back, you agree with me. Annulment. But probably you probably didn't want your parents to be right, which a lot of guys do. A lot of young people do. My mother-in-law, who was nothing but fantastic towards me, lived in another state and was going through some health issues at the time. She was a widow, and Becky and I were her only reliable next of kin. Becky ended up getting a job in that state, and I was to follow. However, being a cop in another state doesn't mean you are automatically in. I still had to endure the entire hiring process, and after 9 months, I was finally hired. So you picked up and I get you're being loyal to family. You have a great relationship with her mom. But still, now you're picking up and moving. You're the reliable, stable income. And you're picking up and moving, having to start God's sakes here. During a 10-day period, I managed to sell the house, move to another state, and start a new job. The plus side was a big boost in pay. But the negative was I would have to endure another police academy and field training. I gotta ask to the police officers out there, why would you have to go through police academy all over again in another state? I mean, I can get maybe some being familiar with the laws of the new state or something like that, but police academy, running and push-ups and all that shit. We lived with my mother-in-law for almost 2 years, and then we were able to purchase a small house just down the street from her. It wasn't anything special, but for the time being, it was affordable and convenient. Becky worked for about another 4 months after I got off a field training, and she decided to quit her job. Once again, I was having to financially support our obligations. Guys, if you're going to be married, you need someone that is truly, for lack of a better term, a teammate. Someone that will help you with the bills and you can rely on, not this bullshit. You should have gotten out even then, man. It was at this time Becky wanted to have kids, so she doesn't have to fucking work. During that time, I got plenty of bedroom action. Well, no shit. She wants to get a kid. I was fine with that. Yet Becky couldn't get pregnant. Went to fertility doctors and discovered that our major problem was Becky's age. We ended up getting into vitro fertilization that cost $50,000 after the numerous attempts. This is $50,000 I'm assuming in the late 90s. So look at the inflation, $50,000 in the late 90s, that's probably what this is, at what the government claims the inflation rates were over the last 25 years, and I guarantee it's way, way more than that. A lot of fucking money in today's money. 50 grand is a lot of money for nowadays, let alone adjusted for inflation in 2020, almost 2024. Finally, Becky got pregnant. We had a child. I thought even though I continued to work hard, I was thrilled to be a dad. Becky, by all accounts, as a mother, was phenomenal. As a wife, not so much. Shocker. She was a stay-at-home mom, which I had no issues with at all. However, I did get resentful as I came home from work, working a 16-hour shift to find no food prepared for me, and the house was in disarray. Oh, no, honey. We had your kid. We spent $50,000 in 1998 money to get you pregnant. You are going to have food for me every day when I come home. This house is going to be spotless so you could eat off the floor. And yes, you can still deal with our screaming child. Otherwise, we're making some changes. You're a cop, my man. You're a badass. You got to lay down the law here. I would often end up spending the next hour or two doing laundry and cooking. Smack! God's sakes. I would also spend time with our child, bonding and reading and playing with her. To me, it was worth it because I just adore being a dad. I got no problem you adoring your child. That's awesome. And congratulations on your child being a dad. But you gotta understand from her point of view, she's like, man, I could just keep pulling bullshit and this guy ain't going anywhere. So she's going to keep pulling bullshit. That's how it works. Now all she has to do is start putting on a lot of weight. And let's see if that happens. Place your bets, gentlemen. Is she going to put on a bunch of weight now that she's got nothing else to do to say a giant F you to this guy? Place your bets. Let's see if she starts putting on some weight. And by the way, place your bets on how much weight soon to be Big Becky's going to be. Okay, I gave it away. I was exhausted, but I was willing to do anything for my girl. I made a vow to her for the first time that I held her that I would do everything in my power to be the dad that I need to be. Well, that's good because a parent should do that. Becky seemed to have no interest in anything at all but food. Shocker. Sure, she did put on some baby weight, but she totally let herself go. She was a little overweight when we first met, but it really didn't bother me too much. She was 5'7" and weighed about 155. I was 6'3" and weighed 200 pounds. After 10 years of marriage, she had gained 100 pounds, while I put on 25 pounds. So, if you guys placed the bets that she was going to get big, there you go. You at 200 pounds, a 6'3", put on 25 pounds, you'll notice it, but not that much. She's 5'7" and went from 155 to 255. Oh, you're going to notice her ass. You're going to notice her ass rolling on towards you. I did mention to her a few times about the issue, but she just shot daggers into my eyes. I heard the usual bullshit of how she was going to start working out and watching her diet, but it never materialized, unless you count working out hitting the TV remote. Well, as a retired personal trainer, and I did that for, let me think, 2015 through 2023, that's when the beginning of this year when I stopped, I've heard every bullshit excuse in the book. Every fucking one. I'll do it, bullshit. What incentive does she have to lose the weight? You're not going anywhere. Think about it. And I'm not meaning to be a dick to this guy. I'm just telling you guys through his situation here what's going to happen if they are certain you're not going anywhere. And they got you. As for bedroom fun, it was almost non-existent. I can understand a transition can happen after childbirth, but after a few years after having the baby, anytime I would try to initiate anything, I would get nothing but rejection. So you're not getting laid either. Not that, quite frankly, I don't mind a gal with a little meat on her bones, a little junk in the trunk. In fact, I like a little junk in the trunk. So therefore, I'm in heaven here, all these Latino girls with junk in the trunk here in Florida. But that's another conversation. But I'm not seeing how you're getting it up for Big Becky here, 255 and rising. And now you're not getting any? Not even some oral action? When this happened 15 to 20 times, it can certainly make a person, male or female, feel as if they're not attractive. Of course, my man. I can count on one hand the number of times that Becky had ever initiated any sort of bedroom activity. Well, maybe if you put some freaking whipped cream or cheeseburgers or french fries near you, she'd come after you. This bothered me because I found myself being the one to start anything. Being rejected made me feel alone. I can see nothing makes one feel more alone than lying next to your spouse and being rejected. I would just get the cold shoulder, as I mentioned before. I did feel like a volcano that was slowly building up pressure to explode. And now you have a kid. You have a kid that you love more than anything, and I get that. But this is miserable. Why endure this? Find a way, man. You should have gotten out of there years ago, but there's still time. I know it's tough, but you can get out of this. I didn't because I was a nice guy. What happened to the Chad who was banging 4 chicks in one day? I want to hear from him. I would ask Becky if I could do anything to make things easier for her and get her out of the funk that she seemed to be in. Smack. Make things easier for her. The problem is you've been making things too easy for her. This is what you're getting. There's no laying down the law here. None. But she would just call your bluff anyway. To say that nothing was wrong with her and that I was pressuring her too much. Pressuring her what? To wash a dish? To stop eating freaking chicken McNuggets for 19 times a day? Internally, I told myself that I wouldn't ask about being intimate with her and just see how long that would last before anything would happen. I don't know, 20 years? That was a huge mistake because it was about 18 months when I mentioned about our lack of intimacy. She stated that she didn't realize that it had been that long, and after that, we did have sex. But it was duty sex from her, and there was no real intimacy. That was the norm between us over the next 15 years. We might have been together like maybe 5 or 6 times a year during that time period. Oh my God. And probably after you got her a Happy Meal. Our child was diagnosed with autism at 3 years old. It was a devastating blow to both of us. Becky's full-time job became getting our child as healed as a best functioning as she could with an autism diagnosis. Numerous therapies and medications were part of the regimen, along with specialized education. During this period of time, I ended up paying around $300,000 in out-of-pocket medical expenses. Holy fucking shit! 300 grand. Now we're probably in the early 2000s at this point, or something like that. Jesus. I respect you doing anything for your girl. I get that. But holy shit. It was well worth it because if you saw her now, you wouldn't think that she ever had the autism diagnosis. Well, that's great, man. And I'm sure also the loving support of you. She did develop epilepsy when she was 13, and we were still dealing with that. But at this time, she had been seizure-free for over a year. And then we had the right medication to finally have them under control. When our daughter was about to start high school, we made the decision to move back to our home state so she could get a decent education. My mother-in-law passed away, and I was going to have to stay behind to try to build up my pension, and to deal with selling 2 houses. During that time, I still worked ungodly hours, and during that time frame, I had a number of opportunities to cheat, but I did not. I was still sticking to my vows, as difficult as it was. Dude, you're a saint. A lot of guys would not. A lot of guys would have gotten out of that, but a lot of guys would have certainly cheated. I don't advocate cheating. I advocate ending it. However, there are even times when, but if a wife is so awful and the guy feels trapped, even though I don't recommend it, I don't advocate cheating at all, but when a guy is pushed too far, I will say she deserves it. Eventually, she's that awful to a guy, but she should end it. I finally retired and moved back to be with my wife and child. So, as a police officer, I guess you can retire in your 40s. Is it 20 years in, something like that? Start collecting a pension? Becky said that she would go back to work after I retired. Fat chance. No pun intended. We eventually found a house and purchased it. Things were finally falling into place with us, but once again, Becky was very slow about finding any work. Shocker. You know, I tell you guys that by and large, people don't change. Right? Becky was also not very affectionate. Did she cheat on me while we were separated because of my job? No, I know she did not. That would actually involve work. Well, you never know. We had SCX in October 2017, but it was the most unfulfilling experience. You actually remember this? I guess it was so rare that you actually marked the calendar. It was duty sex for her once again, and I felt so hollow and unloved. I didn't finish, I just pretended to and went to sleep. I told myself that was the last time I was ever going to feel that way. This was the beginning of a 4-year drought. I told myself I was never going to self-initiate again and not going to feel empty again. So this is like when he was in college after Jane told him that she was pregnant by some other dude in graduation. He said, "That's it," and started his Chad phase. We're about to go into something like this. During that time, we went through the emotions as a married couple. We were doing the best we could as parents, and we were fully involved with the school extracurricular activities as our child participated in. Since Becky and I were at a stalemate and I really didn't have any friends, I did reach out on social media. I reconnected with a lot of people, and one in particular was a gal named Renee. Uh-oh. Renee and I knew each other from church when we were teens. She was the preacher's daughter. Yes, I know what you're going to say. Oh, what am I going to say? Come on. We reconnected as friends, and we had a good rapport with each other. She lived about 80 miles away, and she was married just like me. Oh, what could go wrong? We never got into any sort of romantic talk during this period of time. We were just friends. Well, a married man, a man in a relationship, should be talking to, hanging out with other women, and married women should not be talking to, hanging out with other men. But this guy, as you can clearly see, has been pushed too goddamn far. And obviously, he's not divorcing because of the daughter, and his daughter needs lots and lots of the parents there and all that stuff like that. But man, as we're about to embark on what I know you're going to embark on, imagine what would happen if you truly were to lay down the law with Becky years ago, or you didn't marry her, or at least you married her and laid down the law, made her realize that there was a threat to her life. Maybe she would have changed, and this what's about to happen wouldn't happen. I don't know. Well, no, let me rephrase that. I do know something would happen. Unfortunately, one day, a mutual friend of ours passed away, and we ended up going to the funeral. We finally were able to meet face to face for the first time in 35 years. I found Renee to be beautiful, and we both hugged. When we did this, I will admit that I held her a little longer and tighter than would be proper. Yeah, because you were desperate for some affection, desperate to be wanted, desperate to feel attractive, because you haven't felt that way in goddamn 20 years of Big Becky. We did this, I admit I felt blah, 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 blah. I did notice that she did the same with me. We locked eyes and pulled away. We ended up talking for about an hour in the parking lot. It seemed to be 5 minutes, but we said our goodbyes and went our separate ways. I want to point out she's married, and that ain't cool, okay? Or shall I say what I know is going to happen ain't cool. Renee reached out to me after our hug. She confided to me that her marriage was an unhappy one, and she had actually moved out and had her own place. You sure about that? I too told her my situation with Becky, and this was the door opening for something I thought I would never do. The situation with Becky and I was just getting worse. I would do things around the house, but it was never to her satisfaction. It pissed me off, but I bit my tongue. Smack! Dude, why the fuck don't you check this woman? Oh my god. No more Happy Meals for you, Becky, until you get your fucking attitude changed. Honest to God. It pissed me off, so I bit my tongue. As for that job that Becky was supposed to get, that never happened. Why should she? No matter what, she can do anything, and you're not going to even so much as check her. I ended up doing gig work and deliveries. It didn't pay shit, but I did not care. My payment was being out of the house and away from Becky. Why won't you fucking end this? I mean, okay, I with your daughter, I know it's a tough situation, but something could have been done. As Becky and I seemed to grow further apart, and Becky was becoming more of a nagger than anything else, the volcano I referred to earlier was building up more and more from pressure. It finally came to a head for me when one morning I was up doing some chores around the house, and Becky was as usual sleeping in. I just cleaned the bathroom when Becky had to nag about something that wasn't done to her specifications. Then bitch, you get out the fucking Clorox or whatever the hell you use to clean and start doing it yourself. I finally said, you know, for 47 days straight, you started the morning off by saying something negative towards something I did. She looked at me with a dumbfounded look on her face. She finally said, I didn't know you kept score. I told her I was sick and tired of the negativity, and told her that she should be happy that her husband did as much as I did around the house. I then said, if you want to be right all the time, if you're not careful, you can be right and alone. I stormed out of the house after that and did my gig work for the next 10 hours. Well, it's about goddamn time you said something. During those 10 hours, I did confide with Renee about the issues I was having with Becky. Renee seemed to know the right things to say, but my mental and emotional state was desperate to hear any encouraging words. Dude, I get that you're feeling like absolute shit and you've been worn down and everything like that. I get it. And I'm sorry you went through that, but a lot of it, I can't just say it's all because Becky's an asshole. And Becky isn't. Big Becky is an asshole. Yes, Big Becky is an asshole, but guess what? You were an asshole too for enabling her behavior. And staying with her. And I'm glad you checked her at the bathroom incident after 47 goddamn days, but still. The fact that these words are coming from an attractive female just made me want to connect with her physically. I don't blame you wanting to nail Renee, but really, dude, end your marriage, then go fuck Renee all you want. If Renee's truly divorced. She told me when she was 14 she had the biggest crush on me. I was flattered, of course. We were both in an emotional affair, and we both desired to hook up. It was just how to do it. One night when I was cooking dinner, Becky came into the kitchen. In a test, I tried something to see how Becky would react. I reached out to her and began to hug her. She immediately pushed me away and said, "What's the matter with you?" She shoved you away? What's the matter with you? I'm sure if you had an ice cream sundae, she would come over and hug you. At that moment, I felt completely devastated emotionally. Then I got angry. I thought how Becky was an ungrateful bitch. Not only did I have to work myself to death over the years, not only did I have to deal with the lack of intimacy, not only did I pull up roots from where I grew up to start all over again in my career, I also was alienated from my friends and family. But I'm also dealing with a morbidly obese, 315-pound, and how dare she treat me like this. Now she's up to 315. I had a feeling. I'm picturing Gilbert Grape's mom. Remember that movie, What's Eating Gilbert Grape? For you guys that are my age, when Leonardo DiCaprio played that role that you just wanted to kick him. I'm picturing Miss Grape was way bigger than 315, but I'm picturing her with red hair, with a Twinkie in her hand. It was at that moment I decided I was going to have a full-blown affair with Renee. Renee was more than willing. Well, I don't advocate this. However, if there's anybody that deserves some bad shit happening to her, it's Big Becky. I used my gig work as a way to go to Renee's town and meet up with her. The first time we met, we went after each other like wild animals. It had been 4 years since I had you know what, and Renee was getting those teen crush feelings fulfilled. I'm not kidding when I say I went for 2 hours of extreme lovemaking. I was like 22 years old over again. I had a lot of pent-up energy to get released. I later found out from Renee that Renee had a very healthy appetite for sex. She later confided with me about her past, and she was very promiscuous back in the 90s. Preacher's daughter, huh? I'm sure you Footloose. Anybody seen Footloose knows what I'm talking about. Oh, that girl is butt ugly. Yes, I've seen Footloose, guys. Before you guys want to start giving me shit in the comments section. Yes, I've had girlfriends back in the day that I told you I watched the rom-coms and all that stuff back in the day. Christ's sake. She told me that she had never had a man do the things to her that I could do. Bullshit. She's full of crap. Maybe I could chalk it up to being such a long time since I did it, and Renee's teen crush hunger was being satisfied. Throughout the next 6 months, we met frequently, and each time it was just as wild as exciting as it was the first time. We both had intense feelings for each other, and I knew in the back of my mind I was going to have to make a decision. Well, if anybody deserves being cheated on, it's Big Becky for how she's been treating you all the years. However, you brought all this shit on to yourself as well. You should have ended it with her, and by the way, if you get caught, Big Becky, depending where you live, could really have a case against you. One evening, I finally came clean with Becky and told her that what I had done. Oh boy. She looked at me with utter shock and then contempt. She had every right to feel that way. I didn't blame her for that. I broke up with Renee and broke her heart. Becky wanted to not end the marriage, and because I made my vow to my child, I would do everything I could to give her the best chance in life. We ended up going to counseling and have done so for 2 years. You could have given your daughter an amazing life, but you didn't have to be with Becky, for goodness sake. I will say this, has counseling helped? Yes, but not in the way you may think. If anything, it has taught me to speak out and not take any more BS from Becky. Well, shit, brother, if you would have found my channel, I started in 2020, so if you found me back then, you would have probably learned you'd save yourself a lot of money in therapy by just speaking your mind. You were a cop. As for Becky, I think it opened her eyes that she had pushed me to the brink, and that she had better stop the nagging. She's not nearly as bad, but in regards to bedroom action, it's now been 6 years. I'm not attracted to Becky at all. She's just too obese, and her pushing me away when I try to hug her still weighs heavily on my heart. I also find it embarrassing to be seen with her. She has a really hard time to just walk a short distance. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Going out, I'm assuming, I don't know how often you hit the gym or anything. I'm assuming you're probably still in the 220s or something, but even then, walking around with Jabba the Hutt's daughter with a freaking red-headed wig on, oh my God. I did reach out to Renee about a year ago. Bro, if you're trying to rebuild your marriage, you shouldn't be reaching out to Renee, unless you are thinking about truly ending it. I felt guilty at how I ended things with her. She knew you were married, for God's sakes. She, of course, hit me with both barrels of a shotgun and gave me a piece of her mind. She had a new man in her life, and his name is Kevin. She was quick to show me the ring that she got, and she told me never reach out to her again. Okay, because she's such a straight shooter, because she's so holier than thou. Bullshit. She's just as guilty. I ended up telling her that I did her wrong and that I needed to get off my chest. She softened up a little bit, but then she said she was getting divorced from husband number 3 and was engaged to Kevin. She's been married 3 times, the preacher's daughter, and now she's engaged to another guy. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to work out real well. She said there wasn't a date set, but it was going to happen. I was truly happy for her, and it was fine with what she had told me. Interesting things ended up happening with Renee. About 2 months after I reached out to Renee, she started texting me. Of course. It was out of the blue, but she started talking to me about how she felt about me and that she wasn't over me. Well, somebody's getting the wedding jitters. She stated that she doesn't think she ever will. She asked how things with Becky and I were, and I told her we were trying to work things out, but in reality, we had a roommate living arrangement. I told her that I was going to get my child through college, and then more than likely I was going to pull the plug. How about now? Then Renee proposed an interesting arrangement. She suggested a friends with benefits offer. What about poor Kevin? Is Kevin aware of this offer? Is Kevin in an open marriage, open relationship? Because they work out so well. She and Kevin were still together, but from what I could get, it seems that Kevin may have some ED issues. Kevin was a widower, and he made a good living. Renee stated that she was going to stay with Kevin because he offered her financial stability. See, guys? You share enough of these stories, you notice a pattern here. And yet people think I'm the fucking devil because I do these videos and share these stories. Right here. I ended up seeing Renee at her house on 4 other occasions. And yes, we did go wild on each other. Every time we did, Renee would say it would be the last time we could ever see each other. However, that wasn't the case. Yeah, sure. Dude, now you're with a girl who's engaged. Yes, Becky's an a-hole, and Becky deserves some bad things happen to her with regards to your cheating, but still, now does this Kevin guy know about this? I most certainly think not. And he's a widow, whatever you want to call it, widower, whatever, and a widower. And how do you think he'd feel if he found out that this was going on? Dude, at the very least, don't do it to hurt this guy. Renee stated one day that Kevin had seen some of our conversations and he knew about our previous history. Renee stated that Kevin wasn't happy and he swore her to never contact me again. Then don't. Renee stated that she agreed, and for about 2 months that was the case. I'll admit I did miss Renee, but I did not text her. Then one day she started texting me again. Of course she did. Because Kevin found out about you two, and Kevin didn't kick her to the curb, and she realized, oh, well, I can go back to cheating on Kevin because he's not going anywhere. See? She stated that she couldn't ghost me and that she had feelings for me. Bitch, I don't care. I confided in her that I did too. Be advised, when I originally got married, I was a nice guy. I shed my Chad and Tyrone persona, and after 20 years of neglect, you change. When I was with Renee, we did have intense connection. Was it legitimate? I don't know. But for a guy who hasn't had any intimacy with women in years, I crave that attention. We ended up together for a few more times at her place. The intense feelings were there, even after I dumped her. Dude, I get you were in a living hell, but you could have ended your living hell. That's the thing. You didn't have. I don't know your circumstances. I don't know the relationship you have with your daughter, but there have been plenty of marriages that there is definitely challenge with the kids, and they made it work separate. You know, really. But now you're cheating with a married woman, or I'm assuming she's married at this point, and this Kevin dude doesn't deserve it. I think Kevin felt pressure that he needed to marry Renee, although they've been going as a couple for only a year. He married her after a year, smack to Kevin. And this is what Kevin gets, rushing into a marriage and showing her he ain't going anywhere. There's a similarity between you and Kevin. Both you rushed into marriages and showed your girl that she could do anything, and she keeps on doing it. I think Kevin was thinking that he would lock her in to only him. Renee got officially divorced from husband number 3, and Kevin was going to be husband number 4. Renee and I still end up texting each other even after Kevin's ultimatum for her to go no contact with me. She would sometimes go silent, but after a few weeks, she would reach out again. We ended up seeing each other 2 more times, and the last time was 10 days before she was getting married to Kevin. Dude, they're going to get divorced, and then she'll be on to husband number 5. This goes to show, once a cheater, always a cheater. You can't turn an HO into a housewife. The preacher's daughter stereotype. I mean, the story has so many... Even if you guys are wanting to barf many times in the story, those of you who have been sticking around here at 42 minutes here at this point, what I'm talking about here, this is what happens. It shouldn't surprise you. Renee stated that once she was married, she would end all contact with me. Sure, let's see if that happens. Well, that hasn't happened. We still speak to each other, and she says she can't get me out of her head. I told her that I would be her friend and that I would not get romantic or sext her, and I have not. Well, good. It's about goddamn time, sir. That's unless she wants me to. Of course she wants you to. I can tell her some stories of what I would want to do with her, and she says it drives her crazy. I don't ask any questions about she and Kevin and when it comes to being intimate. She says she understands how older guys lose their ability. To me, she sounded like Kevin isn't satisfying Renee in that regards. Well, obviously he's not, but he's satisfying her with his bank account. Would I marry Renee if the opportunity presented itself? No. Not because of Renee and her past, but because marriage is such a bad deal for men. Yes, how about also because of Renee and her past? Because if you divorced Big Becky today and married Renee once the dust settled and the divorce is whatever, I guarantee all this affection and her thinking about you all the time and the excitement of it would be gone like that, in a puff of smoke. And she'd be bored because then you were there all the time. There's no challenge. There's no screwing over Big Becky. And she'd be on to the next affair. If you divorce, big truck going by. If you divorce, you get hit with too many financial hardships that you see as a business decision. It's a bad deal. Well, marriage is a bad business deal too. There's so many red flags with Becky, and I ignored them because I was blind and because I was stubborn. I wanted to prove my parents wrong. Are there red flags with Renee? Absolutely. I feel sorry for Kevin, but he was an idiot. Kevin was an idiot. Kevin is an idiot. But you know what? You're not making it better of banging his wife. And you may not banging her now, but you're emotionally cheating with her. I look at Kevin as I was 30 years ago when I married Becky. There were more red flags than in China, yet I ignored them. I excuse my ignorance for the lack of guidance in regards to relationships with women from my dad. He never told me a thing. I learned on my own. Unfortunately, I learned after I said I do. Yeah, man. This is why young men need a masculine role model to teach them reality, not to just tell them what they want to hear and care about their feelings. Why did I write this? I'm sure a lot of people were wondering this. I'm giving you 2 examples of how women operate and the way of their thinking. I think it was a way to get things off my chest over the events over the last almost 3 years between Renee and myself, and what happens if you don't do your due diligence in vetting a potential mate. You're darn right about that, sir. SSM, thank you for providing a valuable resource and service to all the men out there. Am I anti-marriage? No, I am not. But I cannot stress to the younger men out there not to make the mistakes I, along with countless other men, have made. SSM's voice is golden with his wisdom. I cannot emphasize enough to listen to your family, friends, if you find Mrs. Right. Take your time and don't lose your man card like I did. I'm more purple now, and I don't put up with Becky's bullshit anymore. If your woman gets out of line, call her on it. Otherwise, you will pay and it will eat you alive. Funny he's saying that with Becky. Thank you, SSM, for your time, and good luck in beautiful Florida. Well, thank you, and I'm enjoying beautiful Florida. It was 61 freaking degrees this morning. I went out at 8:45 to go film some videos, not this one. 61 on the dash. I walked out and was like, fuck, I'm cold, because I'm already getting acclimated to Florida. Bro, what a story. All 45 minutes at this point. I don't know how many people are going to be left to hear this at this point. But anyhow, I know you fucked up. I know you fucked up by marrying Becky and all the things you allowed her. And I'm glad at this point you're checking her on the bullshit. Look, if your plan is to wait till your daughter, I don't know how old your daughter is, but if you wait to the point that she's out of college to divorce Becky, if that's your master plan, so be it. Last a couple more years, whatever it is. But for God's sakes, end it with her. You have been miserable. Okay? I don't know how old you are at this point. I'm guessing probably 50s. I'm guessing something like that. It ain't over. Get rid of her. Move on. Even if you have to live under a goddamn bridge and eat garbage, it's better than spending 1 minute living longer with Becky. If you get hit in the divorce and she gets the house and all that stuff like that, at least you won't have child support and any of that stuff, and you can take care of your daughter. You can find a way. But honestly, man, I don't need to go back and say she never married Becky. You know that. However, you do know darn well by rushing into the relationship with Becky, that gave her certainty. By marrying her after 14 months, that gave her certainty. And every time she was pulling BS and you're not checking her, like quitting jobs and putting all on you and getting fat and all those other things like that, you had a right. And you weren't getting satisfied as a man. You had a right and you never did, at least from what you told the story. Her actions communicated to me that she never had to worry about you going anywhere. And that's what can happen. So all you guys out there, you nice guys that think that you got to treat her like the princess and not check her when she's disrespecting you, and the relationship is all one-sided, she gets to benefit from everything and you suffer, wrong. That ain't cool. You deserve guys to be happy. And you'll be walked all over if you allow yourself to do that. If you allow her to do it. And women don't respect guys that act weak. Okay? Becky is this whole selfish a-hole on so many fronts, but you enable her behavior. I'm not going to let it slide and just act like you're the victim and she was the evil one. No. So guys, we can learn from this story. And I know he knows this. And then back to Renee. Becky deserves some karma. Okay? But still, you were cheating on your wife. You should have just ended it with her. But I mean, hey, you were in a dark place and you've been suffering so long, and I'm sorry it happened to you. But the fact that Renee is married now, or at least soon to be married, she was engaged and you're banging her, and then the emotional thing, that just ain't cool to her husband. I mean, seriously. If you're not going to do it for your wife, at least do it for, don't hurt the poor Kevin guy, Pretty much, I would tell Renee, look, as long as you're with Kevin, we're not going to have a relationship anymore. Period. We're not going to talk. That ain't cool. It was wrong for me to do so. That's what you should do. You should tell her flat out and tell your reasons why. And she throws a fucking tantrum and all that, so be it. And yeah, you'll miss her. You'll miss the attention from her and the fun and feeling wanted and all that. But she ain't your soulmate, dude. Because I guarantee you divorced Big Becky today, and the divorce is done, and you got together Renee and got married to Renee, which you shouldn't. I guarantee you, her lust for you and everything will be gone like that, because there'll be no more challenge anymore, and she'd get bored and she'd be on to the next guy. So you're gonna do what you want to do. But if me at this juncture, I would end it with Big Becky, end the freaking story, and then start over. And then if Renee becomes single, if Renee became single and you got divorced, at that point, then you want to have fun, then you have fun. I got no problem with that. But Renee ain't relationship material at all. And I know you know this, but there's one thing knowing it in here and then knowing it down there. So I wish you the best, man. You suffered. You made a lot of fucking mistakes. My hand is sore again from hurting you. I'm going to have problems holding anything in the future from all this smacking I do, all these videos here. But anyhow, great story. I appreciate you sharing it. It takes balls to write in. And I really wish, I'm glad to hear your daughter's doing well. There's going to be something good that came out of all this. If anything good came from your years of Big Becky, it's you got your daughter. So that's really good. And I hope you have a great relationship with her. And I hope she knows how much of a great dad she has. And I'm sure she does. And you can have a great relationship with her and see how things go. But my man, please get out of this relationship. And don't have anything to do with Renee anymore. She's married. It ain't cool to Kevin. Okay? Please. So, best of luck. All right, guys. That is it for today. Holy shit, 50 minutes. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you got a great story that you want to send in, just email to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I definitely will when I get the chance. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.